Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official Rank 1 Windwalker guide for Shadowlands PvP patch 9.0, the first patch of Shadowlands. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, what do you mean by Rank 1 Windwalker guide? Well, a lot of you know that I'm not a Rank 1 Windwalker. However, I am looking to pick up a couple classes going into Shadowlands, some new classes, and Windwalker is one of those classes. And as I mentioned in my previous PvP tips video, I said that you should look to learn from an expert, and since one of my buddies is a really great Windwalker, I figured why not learn from him, turn that into a video, and make it into a guide for all of you guys who are interested in playing Windwalker, as it's looking pretty promising. So, like all of my guides in the past, we'll be covering our general talents. We'll be going over our PvP talents in this guide. We'll go over your Covenant choice, your Soul Binds, your Conduits, your Legendaries, your desired stats, and then we'll cover some general tips about the class. So there'll be timestamps listed below so you can skip around to better sort through the video to get the information you're looking for. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoy. Thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video and making guides like this possible for my community. I'm sure many of you already know, but Raid Shadow Legends is a turn-based MMORPG that features over 300 champions that can be accessed from your mobile device or through your own desktop computer. I actually was pretty surprised at how well made the game was, and I found myself playing in between arena queues as well as when waiting for rare mobs to spawn. I started a fresh character and earned tons of epic loot through playing through the campaign, and I kept earning new champions that I was able to switch out and upgrade their strengths through the various free item upgrades. Not to mention the champions I unlocked looked amazing, their traits and abilities were all unique and interesting, and overall I was honestly impressed with the product, and it may be something that you can use to pass time while looking for an arena queue. And for those of you interested, Raid just released a new artifact forge where you can save time and craft artifacts directly, as well as their new advanced quest system offering great rewards. Not to mention they're continuing to add new champions as well as the new Doom Tower feature, all of which they're pretty excited about. Now, unlike me, you can use the link below and receive 100,000 silver, 50 gems, and 10 mystery shards, as well as a free champion known as Hexweaver, who looks really cool, and it was way more than I had when I started the game. You can find all of these mentioned rewards here, and again, thank you Raid Shadow Legends and to my community for making guides like this possible on my channel. Okay, so here I am with Zugzog. This is actually my second time recording this because we kind of messed up a little bit the first time, but he's one of my good buddies. He's a rank 1 Windwalker. I think you said you got like 3,300 last season playing Windwalker SPR Sham, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a streamer. He makes YouTube videos. I was telling him to promote his YouTube or whatever, but he says it's a little scuff, but he's working on it. But he streams pretty often, and you do a lot of viewer games, right?
Yeah, I stream a lot at twitch.tv/ZugzogTV. I do lots of viewer games. If you have any Windwalker questions, I'll be sure to answer them. And yeah, just stop by, say hi, and yeah, we'll play some games.
There's the good plug. There's the good plug this time. That's perfect. So hopping into just our talents first, we have the level 15 row. Why don't you talk about why Chi Wave is just currently better than some of the other options?
Yeah, so Chi Wave's a lot better, mainly because for one, Chi Burst isn't very useful unless it gets buffed in any way. And Eye of the Tiger, it used to be quite useful in BFA because you could have it rolling on multiple targets at the same time. So let's say you're versing a double melee, it'd be really easy to keep Eye of the Tiger up on 2 targets at once. But now in Shadowlands, it's a limit to 1 target, so it's not very useful as it used to be. So
Right.
Chi Wave's really good because you can kill Psi Fiends with it, because there's going to be a lot of Shadow Priests in the arena. Shadow Priests are looking really good. And yeah, you can also just you can control like when you want like the damage and healing, which is pretty nice.
Right, got it. Let's do level 25 now. It's just always Tiger's Lust, yeah?
Always Tiger's Lust.
Yeah, everything else is just bad. You can use this for, I mean, as a Mistweaver, I would take this sometimes. It's just great to get your allies out of other types of like roots, effects like that, and then it's also just good for you to break novas and things like that, correct?
Exactly.
And then 30 was where I was interested because in the beginning I saw some players playing Fist of the White Tiger. I know Ascension was kind of the go-to. I think back in Legion, if I'm not mistaken, people used the elixir, but I think it changed, right? So you explained to me in a good way how bad Fist of the White Tiger actually is in your opinion. Can you talk about that and why Ascension is just way better?
Yeah, so the reason why Energizing Elixir was so good in Legion was because it gave you a full Chi bar and it was off the global. Now it only gives you 2 Chi, which isn't very useful. So you get the most value out of Ascension, just because it's like passive and you'll always have the effect. And Fist of the White Tiger, it's a 30-second cooldown. it does the same damage as a blackout kick, and it only gives one more chi
Yeah.
than a jab. So it's not really justified taking because you get like way more use and value out of Ascension.
Right, just way more consistent value.
Yeah.
Um, for level 35, I know for myself, and I know you mentioned it a little bit actually when I was talking to you about your rank 1 games this past season regarding good karma, but like the go-to, you just get so much value out of Ring of Peace. I mean, even when I was playing my Mistweaver, it's just such a good ability for so many different use cases, like defensively, offensively, to knock someone off an edge. Um, but is there any use case? I mean, Tiger Tail Sweep just seems really bad, but is there any use case for good karma that you would see going into Shadowlands? I know it's really bursty right now, but
Um, Most of the time that I had to run good karma in BFA was when I versed like a jungle cleave, just to deal with like the burst damage. So going into Shadowlands, I think that good karma might be useful for versing like a marksman hunter sub rogue. I think that's or maybe a marksman hunter feral druid.
right,
I think that's probably the best use out of it. Otherwise, but there's going to be a lot of extra defensive utility that you can have with your soul binds in the Kyrian Covenant. So you might just be able to run Ring of Peace, but we're just going to have to see how it is.
sure, sure. Okay, so now hopping into the level 40 row here, and this is kind of similar to Mistweaver. Some of the options are the same. You actually can kind of take any of these. Why don't you talk about the use cases for diffuse magic? I know it was really popular in BFA because of the trinkets, inner strength, and then dampen harm.
So diffuse magic is really good versing casters. Although the one thing I would say is if you're versing affliction lock, it's generally not worth it to take diffuse magic just because when you diffuse off a UA, it'll take a lot of damage on you for pressing diffuse, which I hope gets changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you're versing like melee, like double melee, normally inner strength is the way to go because it is a consistent passive 10% damage reduction that lasts as long as you're spending chi and it stacks up 5 times and that'll be really good for consistent damage
Right,
reduction.
right.
But let's say if you're versing like a sub rogue marksman hunter, I'd say dampen harm would actually be really good to counteract all the bursts they would do. But other than that, I'd say inner strength is really good
Got it.
consistently.
Got it. So just inner strength for more consistency, diffuse magic for just obviously mostly casters. Just be careful with UAs and warlocks, and then dampen harm's more of like burst heavy physical damage.
Exactly, yeah.
Got it. Got it. And then for level 45, hit combo is just no longer the move, huh? The
Yeah, hit
move.
combo is not really worth it anymore. Dance of GG is just by far the better choice. You do a lot of damage. If you get a Dance of GG, Brock, press your spinning crane kick, and the numbers will fly.
Okay. And then for level 50, we have Serenity and Whirling Dragon Punch. And right now, Serenity looks really good, right, with the Kyrian Covenant ability, but Whirling Dragon Punch you feel feels better just as a playstyle ability.
Yeah, playstyle wise, I really like Whirling Dragon Punch, and hopefully that will be the better choice. But as of now, it looks like Serenity is the best choice when combined with the Kyrian Covenant. You do a lot of burst damage, and it just overall feels like it's really strong right now. But Whirling Dragon Punch might be the play if Serenity gets nerfed, which it looks like it might because on beta right now, Windwalker's just taking like everyone's health pools like instantly
Yeah.
with a Serenity Kyrian ability.
Yeah, personally, I find when I play Serenity, it's just not as fun as Rolling Dragon Punch because Rolling Dragon Punch has a nice flow to it. Serenity just feels like you kind of throw all of the builder spender kind of style out the window and then you're just waiting for this cooldown. But I could see if it's just one shotting people, then obviously you'll take that. And then going into our PvP talents, uh, just talk about the ones that I would always, is there like you always take, right? Like I'm always locked in a Turbo Fist, correct?
Well, actually, you only want Turbo Fist versus melee. Like if you're versing like double caster, there's no need for Turbo Fist. You could
Even the
take
slow isn't worth it. Just like keeping them in your
uh
fist.
no, like I think you're fine if you just root them before you go for your fist because you
Hmm.
still have like that 50%.
Right.
I think it's really good. To be able to take like let's say you're versing like a frost mage and like another caster, I'd say ride the wind is quite worth it over Turbo Fists.
Right.
And then you can also take like Alpha Tiger and Reverse Harm. That's like your three PvP talents that'd be really good to verse double casters with. And if you're fighting melee, you always want Grapple Weapon. And if you're fighting like a plate class melee, like let's say like a Ret, a Warrior, or a DK, you always want Tiger Eye Brew. And then Turbo Fists would be your third option there.
Right. Yesterday you were saying that you would drop Reverse Harm for Tiger Eye Brew, so it'd be Disarm, Turbo Fist, and then Tiger Eye Brew.
Yeah, if you're versing a plate class, Tiger Eye Brew damage is absolutely insane. So the way you want to use Tiger Eye Brew is when you're using your Fist of Fury, it doesn't matter how many Tiger Eye Brew stacks you have, just as soon as like you press your Fist of Fury, the next global, press your Tiger Eye Brew. You can do it mid fist. It won't cancel your fist at all, and it'll apply the damage of Tiger Eye Brew to your remaining like fist damage, and it won't because Tiger Eye Brew takes up a global, so you can shave off that extra global you have to use for Tiger Eye Brew if you do it like mid fist.
Got it. So essentially, so I understand it correctly, like if you're queuing into, let's say like some double caster meta, you can play Alpha Tiger, Reverse Harm, and then Ride the Wind. And then if you're playing into like melee comps, you like, for the most part, Grapple Weapon, Tiger Eye Brew, and Turbo Fist. Do you ever take anything else, like Disabling Reach? Is that ever useful? Do Pressure Points has been changed because Karma's kind of changed. That just seems awful for at least arena gameplay. So are any of the other options?
Never take Pressure Points. I wouldn't take Disabling Reach. Normally, Ride the Wind is really good to clear yourself of slows and whatnot. The only time Disabling Reach would be really good is if you don't need Turbo Fists versus like a melee and the caster you're versing doesn't have slows. So I think the only time would be like versus like a Fire Mage Shadow Priest where they don't really have anything to slow you with. That would be a good time for Disabling Reach. Other than that, I'd say Ride the Wind would be your best bet.
I mean, Ride the Wind has so much utility because, like, obviously in BFA it was insane because you could just use it to clear stacks of the Spite Trinket. So I know, but then I know also in Legion a lot of the time when I was on my Disc Priest and I was getting trained, my Windwalker would like give me mobility to cross the map. You know, it was so useful as a healer. If my Windwalker had Ride the Wind, he would like give me a pathway to just cross the map, and it was super helpful. So I mean, it's not only for yourself, you can also help your teammates with it as well, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And Windwalker, no, there's like nothing else, right? So it's not that complicated, right? So it's just Turbo Fist, Ride the Wind, Alpha Tiger, Grapple Weapon, and then Tiger Eye Brew and Reverse Harm. So as far as Reverse Harm goes, do you think it's lost some value now because you can't use it on teammates anymore? Or you think, like, does that lose any value? Are you taking it less than before? Or you still think with the conduits and everything, it's like one that you try to keep it as much as possible?
So I really would like to be realistically running Reverse Harm every game, but some games you just won't be able to take it because of the value you get out of other talents. I really hope that the chi generation of Reverse Harm would be baseline, having your Expel Harm give 2 chi instead of just 1, because versus melee classes you're gonna have, or plate melee classes, you're gonna have to take Grapple Weapon, Tiger Eye Brew, and Turbo Fist every time, and then not having that extra 1 chi generation from Reverse Harm will feel really clunky, and hopefully that's changed so it's like 2 chi and you just get like extra healing or something, or have the talent be baseline in general. Got
it. Okay, that's all the talent. So now moving into, the Covenant choice here. I mean, obviously they can see that I'm in the Kyrian zone. Can you just talk about, yesterday you mentioned it actually, and I thought it was a good point. I know I think for PvE, Kyrian's looking the best for monks anyway, at least Windwalker, that is. Can you talk about, why Venthyr was popular at first? You mentioned just obviously the clones being nerfed. Then you also talked about Dwarf Shadows not being that great. And then why Kyrian, from your experience now, is just a better option.
Yeah, so the only reason people were really considering Venthyr as a Covenant for Windwalker is because the Fallen Order monk images that you would get were very overtuned, and they would just do like way too much like damage and healing and whatnot for Yeah, and they were up for a long time too. But overall, Kyrian is a lot better. You get value out of both of the abilities, like the steward with the healing file and the fallen or the wave order, I think
Right.
it's called, for
Weapons
the
of order, yeah.
or weapons of order, yeah,
Right,
for the
right.
burst. And for Venthyr, Door of Shadows wasn't really useful at all. Like you already have a lot of mobility as Windwalker, and it's a slow cast time,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get kicked on it, and it just doesn't seem like very useful at all. So overall, Kyrian is a lot better, especially with the soul binds
Right.
that Kyrian has.
I actually, when I was on the beta, I named I named my first monk on the beta Pet Class because I would literally just summon all of my clones, win the tiger, and just like send them off. It would just solo people on on its own. Like you would just summon the zoo of pets like a BM hunter, and then it would just solo everybody. So yeah,
Yeah, it was crazy.
that was pretty funny. So obviously Kyrian, I think again for the most part, if you're trying to take a PvP competitively, it just has a massive advantage, and I don't think Venthyr is even that good anymore for either PvE or PvP. So should make your decision a little bit easier. Let's talk about the conduits now, because I mean, well, let's start with: did you kind of figure out by looking at the trees? I think we both kind of came to the conclusion yesterday that the first tree looks to be the best, but after looking through them a little bit, as far as your soulbind trees go, which one do you think is going to be the most popular?
Okay, so basically what I chose to go with was in the Pelagos tree was I first went to the right side for the finesse conduit instead of the potency
Okay,
for the tumbling technique to have and I'm taking in account like max rank of each conduit.
sure.
So tumbling technique at max rank is a 15% chance to grant a charge of roll,
Yeah.
and you need that tree to the right because the file of patience soulbind,
Yeah, this is
which
insane.
heals you for 35% additional health, but it's done over 10 seconds, which
Right.
is very useful. And then I went for a harm denial, which is the 60% increase on expel harm.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, bond of friendship. And then for the last one, potency, I did coordinated offense for the storm, earth, and fire and serenity damage increase,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the best overall. And then I went for fortifying ingredients. At max rank, I feel like it's better overall than the Vivify increase because having a 30% shield when you press fortifying brew is basically like you have like a second karma, which is
Right.
really nice. And
Right.
in conjunction with the port legendary, I think you get enough value out of porting and then pressing Vivify to heal yourself,
Yeah.
and then having the extra shield on fortifying brew.
Yeah. So interesting though. So I mean, I think that file buff is ridiculous. I know that's the one I'm going on my warrior for sure, just because it's just such a massive heal. Like, why would you not take that? And
Yeah.
it's worth it over you. Let's say you went for like, let's say you decided to go left though. What are the other like? Because mostly, I mean, for the most part, for almost all of the classes, not every class. I know for some healers it's a bit different, but the potency conduits are just are by far the best ones. They have like the greatest effect. There are some great like endurance conduits or finesse conduits. Like obviously, um, getting your rollback from blackout kicks is a 15% chance. You said,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. So, but as far as the other potency conduits, which ones do you think could be good if per se one gets nerfed?
I think the Fist of Fury damage increase is really good. Same with
Inner Fury.
the extra damage on spinning crane kick to, like, let's say if you get a Dance of Chi Chi Brock, that'll really increase the damage of it. But overall, I think it's worth to go right for the file of serenity,
Yeah.
or the file of patience conduit to get that extra healing from your Kieran ability, and then taking a coordinated offense, which is the best
Yeah.
potency conduit overall for Windwalker.
Got it. Right on, man. Okay, now hopping into legendaries. We kind of went over this last night, dude, but what are the ones that you think really stand out? I know a lot of people are talking about just as a general base. So if anything gets changed, a lot of people are talking about Sephu's being really good, where it just reduces. It's just like a relentless effect. So I know that's just the one that you can get as a base legendary pretty easily because it comes from PvP. But as far as specific ones to Windwalker, which ones are the ones that you're really looking at?
Honestly, I feel like Escape from Reality, the port legendary, is going to be by far like the best legendary to have as a Windwalker in Arena for like every comp and situation. The only time I would really think that Kiefer's Reach, the Tiger Palm one, would be necessary is versus maybe like a Frost or Arcane Mage. But even then, if you're versing a Frost or Arcane Mage, they're going to have those polymorph chains. If you're versing them in threes, so you're probably going to be playing with a rogue, and you're going to have to kite with Escape from Reality, and that really helps you you use your port effectively. Like you port behind the pillar, you heal up with Vivify, and then when they connect, when they're about to connect to you, you port back, and then you can roll to like the opposite pillar to kite out those long CC chains on your healer and be able to save like Karma and like your big defensives.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We'll get to that when we get to the general stuff. Is because I remember you had a lot of good points that I was asking you, like just common mistakes that beginners make, and you were explaining. I mean, this would even make it. This will even help players avoid having to use karma so much more so because that's just one of the things that at least I notice as a healer when I'm healing other players and they're new on the monk. They're just like whiffing out their defensive CD so easily, and we'll get to that in a bit. And I could see how this legendary would just be absolutely insane. So these are the two ones that he currently recommends. And at first, I thought Escape from Reality didn't seem that insane. I was like, I mean, I thought it was just funny. It was a meme one because you're just spamming ports back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we'll have some footage here showing you how the legendary does work. But the way you described it, just porting behind the pillar when they connect, then going back to original location, and then just getting across the map from there, seems like it's a really great defensively. So I can definitely see that. As far as stats go now, I mean, it's not changing from BFA at all, right?
Yeah, versatility mastery is definitely the go-to stats for Windwalker.
Yeah. Versa just being more of a prio than mastery, yeah? Does that change at all, do you think, with the Covenant? Do you think mastery, like if you're going Kyrian because you get the buff, or do you just think versatility is still just going to be, obviously you're kind of just assuming how the season's going to play out, but do you still assume that versatility is just like the go-to stat as far as like your primary focus and then mastery secondary?
Yeah, exactly. So for Windwalker, what makes Windwalker really good is that we don't die, right? And if we can stack as much defensive versatility and traits and soul binds that we can, and to just never die. And then if we get paired with like a tanky, another tanky class, then it's really well for 3v3 comps.
DKs or SPs, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you never die, then you win eventually, right?
Yeah. Got it. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this video, I know, but it went by pretty quick. I just want to talk about some general tips, some macros. First of all, let's just talk about what do you like about the Windwalker? Why is the Windwalker the class that you've decided to main going into Shadowlands? I know you've played it for a while, but I know you've also played a lot of other classes. I've seen you on the Resto Shaman for viewer games. I've seen you play a little bit of Ellie. I know you played some Warrior and Legion as well. What do you like about the Windwalker, and why do you think players should pick up the Windwalker?
I think Windwalker is very fun overall. You have a lot of utility, you have a lot of playmaking potential, and you have a lot of survivability. So normally, a lot of Windwalker players will won't use their mobility to survive as much as they should. Normally, they'll just like throw their karma out and they'll die through karma because karma isn't a very good like defensive nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can easily get popped and just die through karma. So what's really good about Windwalker is if like you have the mobility to survive. So if you're good at kiting, if you like running around and then coming back in to do some damage, it's very fun to play for sure.
What would you say is the skill cap on the class? Like Banwell always says Windwalker is the, I don't even know what Banwell is, but whenever I go into that guy's stream, he always says Windwalker is the hardest class to play in the game. But I mean, out of all the classes that you've played, would you rank Windwalker as a difficult class to pick up? Let's not talk about the skill ceiling yet, but as far as just for a new player, you think it's an easier class to pick up, or do you think, there are easier choices out there?
I do think there are easier choices to pick up than Windwalker, but like once you start getting into it, I feel like people will enjoy it a lot,
Hmm.
and then they'll have like that like motivation to get better, like landing like your rolls, in capping, getting those double and triple leg sweeps is very satisfying,
Yeah, yeah.
and just overall just bursting and using karma and touch of death is quite fun.
So I wanted to touch on that because as someone that plays with a lot of viewers as well, at least I did a lot in BFA. Um, a lot of beginner windwalkers like make this mistake of just kind of blowing all of their defensives, and you kind of talked about how squishy the class feels at least right now. But you can kind of make up with that using the mobility that the class actually has. So can you kind of just talk about the idea how like yesterday you mentioned that you don't want to really give up your karma and just some examples of what you would do when your healer gets put into CC. Like what's the kind of like thinking that goes through your head when like let's say your healer gets put into CC chain? How do you react normally as a Windwalker monk?
Yeah, so unless like you're guaranteed going to land a kill, or if you have the utility to deal with it, like let's say your healer gets full trapped, you could like disarm ret wings, or you could double sweep the DPS and continue doing damage if you're going to score a kill. But if you have like no kill pressure, your healer gets put into the start of a long CC chain, instantly you should just port out, try to heal up, and then just kite like the whole CC chain out and try to save your defensives if you're able to. But normally you want to trade out your touch of karma at high HP if they're touching you with big damage cooldown abilities, like say let's say Ret Wings or
Mm-hmm.
your Avatar, Rogue Shadow Blades. If you're not able to kite it, just trade out your karma high HP and just try to live the CC go with your mobility before you press your karma.
Got it. Got it. And then I know we also talked about just kind of like the setup you're talking about, Serenity. Let's say Serenity is not the move and you're using, Storm Earth and Fire, Whirling Dragon Punch. I know you mentioned some things about how they're a little buggy. Could you talk about, what you look to do and when you're trying to set up goes if you're not playing Serenity?
Yeah, so if you're bursting with your images, generally you want to use it with your big damage ability. So that's your Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury, Whirling Dragon Punch.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm pressing my images, I am fixating them a lot. But when you do first press your images, it'll take them a second to fixate. So you always want to put your images out, fixate them, press your Rising Sun Kick to get them focused on the target and make sure that Rising Sun Kick connects, and then have them like rooted or at least slowed before you go for your fist, because you always want to make sure that your images are connecting with your Fist of Fury and your Rising Sun Kick,
Right.
um, and your Spinning Crane Kick.
Right. And then as far as Zwin goes, that's a new ability that was recently added. Can you talk about yesterday you mentioned that it breaks CC a lot, so it does feel a little awkward sometimes, but when do you try to use Win?
Yeah, so it's good to use your Tiger on your leg sweep. So it does do that lightning damage cleave. So it's good to have down and doing damage while you have them in a leg sweep. But if you're playing with like a mage or or let's say like you're incapping the healer, you definitely want to try to avoid pressing Zuen like too close to the healer. You might want to just hold off on pressing that if it's going to be too close to break the CC. And
Got it.
generally you want to have it up in the leg sweep.
Got it. Got it. And then as far as Serenity goes, when you're playing that with Weapons of Order, obviously you pop Weapons of Order, Serenity. Is there really like, are you just going for it right away? Do you try to build anything up, or you just land the sweep, Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury, and that's kind of it?
Well, so basically, when you're doing like any CC go and you're trying to create pressure, you want to sort of have them like not at 100%, but you want to juice them up a little bit, get them like kind of
Yeah.
low, and then if you see the healer casting a heal, you want to incap that heal that they're
Right.
trying to cast to top them up, and then you go for your burst off that, and then try to have your partners chain CC off of your Incap and make sure they're ready to start the CC chain.
Got it. Got it. I wanted to also talk about, um, the new touch of death. So right now, I mean, I wanted just to mention this, that we talked about it being a little bit buggy, but let's talk about touch of death. And I guess because some players comment, at least in my stream, like, how do you feel about the new touch of death? Is it a nerf? Is it a buff? Can you just kind of talk about quickly how the touch of death in your head or in your mind is now better than it was before when compared to BFA and Legion?
Yeah, so I really do like this version of Touch of Death a lot more than the BFA Legion Touch of Death. It's a lot less telegraphed. It also punishes your opponents for if they use their defensive cooldowns too late. Like, let's say a Mistweaver Cocoon's really low, you could Touch of Death right through the cocoon and keep going on them, maybe land a kill off that. If a priest disperses, you can, at really low HP, you can kill him right through disperse. If a pally sack's too low, you can kill him through sack. And if a Windwalker if you're versing another Windwalker and a Windwalker uses Karma on you at a really low HP, you can Touch of Death that Karma right off, diffuse the Karma damage back onto the Windwalker, and then just kill him right through that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good version of Touch of Death. Although sometimes when you do get them into kill range, it sometimes won't register that they're in kill range, and your Touch of Death won't light up. So hopefully it gets a little bit more responsive in Shadowlands. But the best thing when to use your Touch of Death if they're getting low is if you're channeling a Fist of Fury, or if you have a Dance of Chi G proc on a Spinning Crane kick and they're getting low, you have a free global to just spam your Touch of Death if they're getting into that range, and then you can like instantly land a Touch of Death kill off of that free global you have while channeling.
Got it. And then rotation wise, is there anything that we kind of talked about it, like blackout kick, make sure your Rising Sun kicking on cooldown, and then, getting out as many blackout kicks as you can, as it reduces the cooldown of your Rising Sun kick, which is also your Mortal Strike effect, correct? And then Fist of Fury. So that's just kind of the priority there, right? Just Rising Sun kick on CD, and then making sure you're getting out as many blackout kicks as you can to reduce the cooldown on your Rising Sun kick and Fist, right?
Yep, you always want to be using your three big damage abilities: Rising Sun Kick, Fist, and Whirling Dragon Punch. And yeah, like, just make sure you always prioritize Rising Sun Kick, and then getting that Rising Sun Kick back off cooldown to do again with blackout kicks.
Got it. And then when you connect to a target, I know this is something that I'm always like, bagging on some of the viewer games where like they're not slowing enough. So when you connect to a target, is your first global often, your disable or your hamstring effect?
I always make sure that I have the target rooted. For the most part, make sure they're always slowed. Like, you only have to press it once and your auto attacks will keep reapplying it, but it's really good to keep them rooted, especially before your Fist of Fury, your Whirling Dragon Punch, or your Spinning Crane Kick, so they don't get out of it right away.
Got it. And then you have a ton of macros. When I asked you, you had way more than I thought you would. So can you just go through like the macros that you do have? You obviously don't have to read them out. I'll have them all linked in the description box below so you guys can check out those macros. But can you just kind of go through the macros that you do use?
Yeah, so I have Arena 1, 2, 3 Incap. I think it's really important. Try not to have like a focus Incap. Definitely try to make the keybinds for having 3 different Incaps: Arena 1, 2, 3. I have target Arena 1, 2, 3 for my targeting. I have a focus kick. You don't really need Arena 1, 2, 3 kick as a Windwalker, being as your melee, and you don't really have a ranged kick. And I have Detox Party 1, Party 2, which is going to be really important coming Shadowlands. There's going to be a lot of Shadow Priests. And you're going to have to be dispelling that Devouring Plague off CD. Same with Hunter Poisons and DK diseases. It's really good to dispel yourself and your allies. I have Tiger's Lust Party 1, Party 2. You can get your healer out of root beams, and also just like get your partners out of like sticky situations so they can kite and whatnot. And I have Vivify 1 and 2 to heal my teammates, so I don't actually have to target them. And I also have my Tiger Leap for my Zoo Tiger, and Pet Attack macroed into my Tiger Palm just so I can control my Tiger. And I also have my my Taunt Provoke macroed into my Tiger Palm, my Rising Sun kick, and my Blackout kick as well. So that's really good to use if like let's say you ring a piece a rogue out of stealth, or you just get somebody out of stealth. So ring a piece will take rogues out of stealth, but it won't put them in combat. And sometimes you don't have that extra global to chi wave them to keep them in combat before they re-stealth. Because if they spam their re-stealth, they'll get it off before you can normally chi wave them. So if you provoke them, it's off the global, and you'll get them instantly in combat after you get them out of stealth with ring a piece. So they won't re-stealth.
I know you gave me that tip yesterday, and that was huge. I was like, oh, that's really smart. So that's a lot of macros. So most of the ones that, like, you know, if you're at least newer to the game, at least make sure you have Detox, you know, 1 and 2 for your teammates. That's going to be huge. At least have, you know, Arena Target 1, 2, 3, Paralysis 1, 2, 3. Those are the ones that I'll have in a macro video linked below, just like the beginner macros. But as you get more into macros, you want to start having more of these advanced ones, at least like Focus Kick. And, you know, he even has heal, Party 1 and Party 2 bound, which, you know, for some players that might even be something they've never heard before. I know Savix does that a lot too, but I've never actually played a hybrid class in Arena as a DPS, so I guess I've never had to do that before. So yeah, a lot of macros there. I'll have them all linked below. I guess that's it, right? Went through everything. So thank you so much for doing this. I learned a ton, and I'm sure everyone watching the video learned a ton. Again, let them know, sell out here. Where can they find you again?
Yeah, I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/ZugzogTV. I do lots of viewer games. If you have any Windwalker related questions or about PvP at all, just pop by, say hi, and I'll be sure to answer your question. And yeah, you can maybe play some games.
Yeah, definitely check him out. Definitely check him out. I go into stream, like I'll lurk in there, and he's always playing with viewers. Super friendly dude, which is why I asked him to do this. I'll be doing this for a few of the other classes that I'm playing as well, but I highly recommend you guys check out Zugzog, especially if you're on more in the later evenings. That's when he's on, and he's just always playing with viewers. So if you're trying to get better at the game, if you have any questions, you should definitely head over to his stream, and it's a great place to learn and, you know, just make a friend at least. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Zug. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you loved the video, let me know in the comment section below. If you have any questions, you can also let me know in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you all in the next one.